Personally, I choose to believe that the white light people sometimes see, visions this patient saw, they're all just chemical reactions that take place while the brain shuts down.
Now you put down your weapons, walk through those gates. You're one of us. We let go of all of it. And nobody dies.
I'm Chuck Bass.
Hello, I'm Alexandria Bruna. How are you today? It's been a crazy year and I've been traveling all over the world to see different places. And I can't believe that a new Jurassic Park movie is coming out. Hey, have you ever read Harry Potter? It's bloody brilliant. Okay, enough with the fake accent. Hey, I'm Allie. What's up? How's it hanging? I said a few random sentences to begin the video because I wanted to do a quick experiment of television viewers and British versus American accents. Okay, so how many of you think that I sound more intelligent or pleasing now? How many of you thought I sounded more intelligent and pleasing earlier, like when I was using this British accent? You see, actors are put into these situations all the time. Based on the character they are playing, they have to change their voice in order to sway the audience towards believing in the character. If a British character on a British program, like let's just use Sherlock Holmes from BBC's Sherlock, was played by an American actor who didn't change their accent to sound like he was from London, the character wouldn't be believable, and therefore the stereotype behind the character would change. Sherlock is known for being intelligent, but what if he had a Californian accent and said, "Dude, Watson," all the time? He would probably begin to morph in the viewer's mind from intelligent to labels like stoner or stupid. In my research of dialect stereotypes found in American television programs such as The Walking Dead, Gossip Girl, and House MD, I found out that English-speaking actors from other parts of the world really hone in on perfecting their standard American English in order to make their characters believable for audiences. They use voice coaches and primarily immerse themselves into the culture of their characters to make their dialect believable to viewers. When a person turns on the television, they begin making assumptions and judgments about a character based on the dialect that character speaks, even before they truly get to know the character. For example, in the 1990s, the luxury automobile Infiniti, which is a Japanese car, had as its television spokesperson the British actor Jonathan Pryce. By doing this, viewers saw an elegant British dialect, which gave them the idea that buying the Infiniti would allow them to join the aristocracy. Perception of a character can easily change based on how the actor portrays their dialect and SAE. I have chosen to further research Andrew Lincoln of England, who plays Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, Hugh Laurie of England, who plays Dr. House on House MD, and Ed Westwick of England, who plays Chuck Bass on Gossip Girl, and how all three of these British actors have transformed their voices and have linguistically learned to adapt and learn standard American English for the small screens. We'll start out with Andrew Lincoln. Lincoln worked heavily with BBC in his early acting career, and his first big break in America came from the romantic comedy Love Actually. His role portraying Rick Grimes, however, is his biggest and longest acting job as an American character. Rick Grimes is a sheriff from Atlanta, Georgia, who wakes up to a zombie apocalypse and has to learn to survive and protect his family and friends. In real life, Andrew Lincoln has a light, airy, high-pitched British accent. For his role of Rick Grimes, Lincoln said that he had to work with dialect coach Jessica Drake, who wrote out words phonetically for him and made him learn to read them. by writing them phonetically, as a Southerner would say them, Lincoln was forced into developing his accent. He said that it was like cheating, but helped him immensely in creating a Southern dialect that belonged to Rick Grimes. The Walking Dead is well into its 5th season, and Lincoln says that his dialect coach still does Skype sessions every Sunday with all of the non-American actors on the show to help them create a believable Southern accent. He did not list the exact exercises, but says there are a few key exercises that he does every day to keep the accent. Staying in the Southern dialect on set from the second he arrives until he leaves, even when they aren't shooting scenes, is vital for Lincoln in creating a genuine standard American English dialect, specifically Southern. He did say that he has to be careful around some crew members who have very thick Southern drawl, so he doesn't pick that up and start making Rick Grimes sound way too dramatic. One of the most important things to developing believable SAE for American audiences was living and filming in the South, where he could pick up the dialect firsthand. Lincoln wanted to learn the dialect and figure out Rick's voice before he went on the show, so he headed down to the shooting locations before the other actors. Lincoln said he was very fortunate to be able to do this and live around people with the same accent as Grimes, stating that if you live and work around people that are in the same ballpark dialect, it becomes easier to create a believable accent. He said that he absorbs the inflections like a sponge, but that sometimes doing the dialect ruins his voice, and that he's lost his voice twice. The American South is indeed much drier than London, where Lincoln hails from. The most interesting aspect to Andrew Lincoln's education of SAE in the South has been that, as he said, he goes to preposterous and insane lengths to get the accent right, and he's been spotted numerous times going undercover as a Georgia tourist. He said that he's been accepted as a native, and many residents of the South believe him to be one of them when he's out and about. David Peisner talked about his first encounter with Lincoln in his article, Blood, Sweat, Zombies, saying, "When I first met Lincoln in a funky coffee shop, he's sitting at a table toward the back, doing his best to blend in. His curly hair, brown with streaks of gray, is mostly tucked under a green John Deere baseball hat. Lincoln lives nearby, and most of the people who stop by the table actually know him as a regular here. For those who don't, he seems to shift from his English diction toward a molasses twang, as he collects their compliments. 'Oh, thank you, ma'am,' fearing perhaps the discovery that Rick as a Brit could puncture The Walking Dead's peculiar magic for them. And that's just it. If an actor portrays a character's accent and dialect well enough and makes the character believable, then it's like magic watching the television show. And in order to become believable to audiences, actors almost have to dive into the real worlds of their characters and to interact with people who share the same dialect as the person they play on the television screen. Ed Westwick, who plays Upper East Side millionaire Chuck Bass on Gossip Girl, certainly agrees.
Chuck Bass.
He said what's helped most to transition from his British accent to Chuck's lavish, slick American speech was to live and shoot in New York. He said it was huge motivation for character and voice. The people on the streets of New York would often confuse him for Chuck Bass because he would try to dress like Chuck and talk like Chuck when he was out and about. Like Andrew Lincoln, being immersed in the dialect of the area Chuck Bass was from, around Manhattan, helped the most when developing a believable accent for his character. However, Westwick's first audition started off with a more Californian accent, which was not as polished and sounded like a teenage surfer. By the second audition, which was a callback, Westwick worked to make the accent very polished, posh, and formal. This created the Chuck Bass we all know and love, and was due to some dialect coaches and being immersed in the New York culture. Westwick joked at the end of his interview that the key to truly becoming a believable American character was to talk loudly in public, especially on your phone. Finally, we come to Mr. Hugh Laurie, who spent years in England working for the BBC and doing both drama and comedy. He landed the role of House, a smart-talking American doctor, and had a very hard time transitioning to an American accent that viewers would find believable. He said that if he found a word that he couldn't do well in an American accent, he had to find an alternative. He can't say New York or murder, as he noted that it is very hard for many British speakers to say R's, and when R sounds are in words, they become problematic. The only way to be convincing in an American accent is to relax. And once he stopped pushing at the accent, then the voice came out deeper than his own and more in the throat, where his British accent is higher and more nasally. Unlike Andrew Lincoln and Ed Westwick, Laurie went into depth behind the difficulty in the linguistics and phonetics of certain American words and pronunciations. Really is a warm-up word that he uses frequently because R's and L's are the twin demons when anyone with a non-American accent is trying to do an American accent. He said he would let his throat go floppy, and then the deep voice and muttering that House does on the show would come out and sound very natural to viewers. The deep, muttery vocal tone is more appropriate for the character, Laurie says, because only 4 times in 8 seasons did House ever raise his voice. There's nothing shrill about the character, and instead of creating a huge presence vocally, House has a firm physical confidence. Laurie said the trap is thinking Americanness is a characteristic for a character, but that it says nothing about the psychology of the character, so that you can't let it overpower the character you are playing. Otherwise, your whole persona falls apart in front of the audience. He also says Americans know that he is a British actor, and Americans say that he manages to lose the accent. Laurie responded, "I'm not losing the accent, I'm putting on one." However, he told the Rolling Stone that when it comes to the dialogue of House, he has a big problem in maintaining the American accent. He said, "I'll have a day when I can't say the word boy. I'll see that word appears 4 times and know that it's going to be a horrible day." He tries to make the job easier by maintaining the American accent on the show, but co-star Lisa Edelstein, in her People magazine interview, said that while he stays in the American accent, he won't stay in character off camera. She says it would be too difficult to switch back and forth between the British and American accent, especially when struggling with certain words. Then again, British actors are beginning to fill up American television screens and are becoming very skilled at masking their accents. The biggest finding between these 3 British actors, Andrew Lincoln, Ed Westwick, and Hugh Laurie, has been dialect and accent voice coaching and immersion into the American culture of their characters. None of the actors noted that they watched American shows to learn accents, but all vied to actually live and interact with people in America to pick up legitimate accents that would be believable for television viewers. Vocal coaches also use the phonetic alphabet to encourage the actors to pronounce their vowels in a different way, as Brits and Americans use vowels very differently, with British vowels tending to be more drawn out. The most shocking discovery was that every single actor said that viewers were surprised to learn that they were British and not American, like their characters, which is the biggest way of saying you're doing a good job at a believable standard American English dialect.